Welcome, I'm Wayne Hilborn and I'm here to share truths that are totally overlooked in our time. Forget calorie counting and gym sessions. The key to weight loss lies in water deficit, not calorie deficit. Water deficit, not calorie deficit. And when it comes to the mystery of life after death, fear not, for your consciousness is outside of your brain, existing as simultaneous events, retrocausality that unsmart still deem memories. These two truths are unheard of. Nobody else teaches this, but that's just the beginning. Stay tuned, open-minded listeners, as I unveil more secrets on this channel where miracles are simply too easy. Hello, I'm Wayne Hilborn, and I'm going to try and teach you health and healing in this video using magic. So, I do have a book online that's Franz Bardon's Initiation into Hermetics that gets into more advanced healing using the elements, elementals, and whatever of that nature. I don't want to go into any heavy thing. I'm going to stick to law of attraction and the basic type stuff because I don't think anyone listening is going to be too advanced, and if they are, then those are discussions for groups. But for this video, I'm going to talk about health and healing. Now, the nature of your memory and mind is external. Your memory, every memory that makes you is not in your brain. Your mind simply tunes into your actual first kiss. It tunes into your actual graduation. The only barrier from viewing your own first kiss is surpassing the speed of light. If you could walk faster than the speed of light, then you could visit every memory that makes you you. You could visit your graduation. You could visit your first kiss. You could visit anything. You could visit the day you were born. Any memory that makes you you could visit if you could go faster than the speed of light. If you put a mirror 10 light years in space and you could see into it, it would take the light 10 years to reach that mirror, and it would take like 10 years to come back. So if you could just stand here and look at that mirror 10 light years out in space, if you could see that far clearly, then you could easily see 20 years into the past, because the light takes 10 years to reach that and then another 10 years to come back. So what you're seeing coming to your eyes would be light that's 20 years old, so you would see events that were happening 20 years in the past. That's basic logic and reasonable, and everyone can understand that. In a similar fashion, the universe is accessible by Captain Kirk and Spock using the USS Enterprise. If they simply traveled faster than the speed of light, they could go back and they could film your first kiss, or they could film your graduation, or they could film every memory that makes you. And that is what memory is. Mankind feels separate because we feel, the dreaming dog feels like the squirrel in his dream is separate. And I'm not talking about solipsism by comparing it to a dream, but external memory as actual simultaneous events lends itself to a group scenario dream. That's not solipsism. It's a group dream where all of your diseases are psychosomatic and imaginary, basically. So we're imaginary creatures on a lower level loka. There's many advanced spirit. Anything that you think of as possible becomes probable in a block universe. So if you thought aliens and stuff like that were possible in a imaginary universe, well, they would become probable. So everything that you think of as possible is likely. So if you think of like stargates, or spaceships, or like Star Trek type stuff, or beaming stuff from planet to planet and stuff like that. Beaming stuff from planet to planet is likely because we can imagine it so. So one day, I know that we'll be able to beam stuff from planet to planet just because we can imagine it so. And that's sort of how living in a giant imagination works. Everything that we can think of as possible becomes probable. And when you take on the world from that angle, when you start to understand that the universe is mental, then that makes a whole lot more sense to like the actual externalness of everything. Like, because you have to understand that every person that has lived is still living, and every animal that has lived is still living, and every alien that has ever lived is still living somewhere. they're doing something, or they're evolved into something. Or you will be an alien, or you were an alien, now you're human, or whatever. We're all doing this. It's a universal play. It's mental. The universe is mental. The all is mind. That's Hermetic principle numero uno. But it's easy to grasp if you understand Einstein's block universe, and that all of your memories are concurrent to 1 years from tomorrow. So now, disease itself is dis-ease. It's not being at ease. It's because we have anger or emotion. Negative emotions is what causes disease or dis-ease. So if you have anger or hatred or something like that, you have to let it go. And I'm going to explain to you why it's easier to let it go with what I'm about to tell you. A grandmother visualizing her grandchildren lying in the ditch bleeding every time they're 10 minutes late for supper may think that she's doing a wonderful thing. But she's visualizing her grandchildren lying in the ditch bleeding every time they're 10 minutes late for supper. She's visualizing bad crap with emotion, which is manifesting bad crap 101. So, if her grandchildren are then run over by a drunk driver, who is at fault? Was the drunk driver who just happened to have an extra beer because he was steered by the universe to fulfill the grandmother's expectations? Or was it the grandmother that was sitting there for years visualizing her grandchildren lying in the ditch every time they were 10 minutes late for supper? So you get all these expectations from the grandmother, and they mix with the expectations from the drunk driver, and they just coalesce in that simultaneous point in time, because every thought that you make is putting a weight of thought into a simultaneous possible event, which could be a drunk driver running over grandkids. And how many close calls do we all have and stuff like that? But it's now, when you understand that it wasn't the drunk driver that caused you suffering, it wasn't the drunk driver that victimized you, it wasn't the drunk driver that abused you. What if it was the worrying grandmother that caused all that? What if it was your worrying grandmother that caused all the pain and suffering in your life because she was untrained and didn't know how to avoid worry? So our grandmothers are not the best magicians. They're not the best healers. They think that worry, visualizing bad crap with emotion, is somehow helpful. So, we all live forever because our memories are forever stored externally. So we don't need all the drama. We don't need all the drama when we're dying. You and your grandmother create the victimhood. So if we have disease that's caused by anger towards someone, then if we realize that the worrying grandmother is the cause as opposed to the drunk driver, if we realize that it's our own worries, our own visualizing with emotion, bad crap upon us, that causes our woes, it causes our dis-ease, that causes our illnesses, then we're that much closer to being healed. Now, the Alcoholics Anonymous and things of that nature, they'll talk about, as part of their 12-step program, they'll talk about surrendering yourself or asking or praying or asking for help for pain, suffering, for strength to overcome the addiction, things of that nature. Now, we think of ourselves as separate and we think of ourselves as alone, but we're in a giant imagination where we are growing in a way that a giant imagination would. And as opposed to being linear, squishy earthlings, we are actually immortal, godlike foreverness, thought form dream things. And so all our illnesses are psychosomatic and whatnot. And so we can ask for help. We can ask for help. We can talk to our body. We can listen to what it needs. And I don't want to get into the more advanced healing. There is more advanced healing. I have this book, Initiation in Hermetics Online, and it talks about healings with like elementaries and balancing energy, and it even talks about like bringing people back from the dead. Like Jesus was an Essene healer. He learned from the masters that if a person was dying or even dead, you could just contact their thought form mentally, even on the astral plane. And if it wasn't their time, then they could reattach their cord. And that's taught in this book also, which I host online for the last decade. Franz Bardon, Initiation into Hermetics. But that is advanced healing, and I don't want to go into like this is an extensive book, and I'm a fan of Franz Bardon, but I've seen some errors of his, and also I'm not really I'm not a healer. I'm a teacher, but the knowledge that I'm teaching is lost knowledge. So there needs to be a practice form of what I'm teaching eventually. But for now, you're going to have to get by with law of attraction type healings and stuff like that, because we don't have any really advanced crystal working type high energy beings that we can just go to, as opposed to our family and friends and local doctors and stuff like that. So there is advanced healing, but that is not something that can be captured in a YouTube video. This is more but like I said, this book is free online. It's just Google Franz Bardon, Initiation in Hermetics, and you can read away on your phone or whatnot. Now, I did bring props for this video. I have a Bionaire air filtering machine. This I got for Walmart for about $70 Canadian, and it gives negative ions. Now, if you go into a forest, you're surrounded by negative ions. If you stand by a waterfall, the water mist will create negative ions. And negative ions is very, very healthy. It's what the Ankh means in ancient Egypt. The Ankh is like a circle part that represents the air, and then the arms is like balanced air. So it's a balanced air. Ankh is balanced air. And we're meant to breathe onions. We're not meant to breathe cations. So if you're ill, you should always try and be in a high anion environment more often than not. So you don't need to have that Bionaire machine, or some of these machines, they output a little bit of ozone also, which isn't that healthy, but the anions makes up for it's worth it to have the Bionaire machine going. And with the ozone, you can smell it. It's like an electrical burning smell. I have plasma balls that also give off a lot of negative ions that I've tried for meditation and stuff like that. But you can smell the ozone coming from them. That's just something that. But you can make anions in your house right now. You could go to your bathroom and just turn on the hot water shower, and as the steam goes in your bathroom, that creates negative ions. Or after a thunderstorm, there'd be negative ions, because all the rain and everything. Before a storm, it's like positive ions, like cations, and after the storm, it's negative ions and more peaceful, and it's anions. And animals, they will flee from cations or positive ions, and they'll be attracted to negative ions. So there is a need for us to bathe ourselves more in negative ions or anions. So also now, I also brought this other prop. This is a grounding mat. I took this from my bed. This is a mat that goes out on my bed, and this plug here goes into the wall. Now there's the metal part of the prong, and there's two plastic parts. These aren't actually made of metal at all, because this cord isn't designed to conduct electricity. This cord is just designed just to be the grounding, just for the grounding wire to go from here to the earth outside. So if I go from the condo down to the earth, then it's a long way down. So it's not something I can't just go outside. I live very high in the sky, so I can't just go outside. I'd have to go down and put my feet on the ground to get the same effects. But when I sleep or when I work on the computer, I am always grounded. Grounding, everyone needs to watch a movie. Everyone should watch the movie by Clint Ober, The Remarkable Science of Grounding. It's a free movie on YouTube. It's only an hour and 15 minutes, but it's an hour and 15 minutes well spent, because it gives you the science and logic of grounding, which is free once you own a mat like this. Like, I own this mat now, and I have several, and I don't need to buy another one, so I can sleep with this for maybe my entire life and not need another one. It's not like I have to keep buying more things. So getting a grounding mat, even if you didn't believe in stuff like this, is worthwhile. Even if the people you buy it for don't believe in it, it would help them, even if they're not aware of it. And like I said, the movie by Clint Ober, The Remarkable Science of Grounding, it shows the science. And it shows that people have lost pain and inflammation because of the anions or surrounding us, and because of the grounding mats and stuff like that. So our bodies are electrical in nature, and we're meant to do that. So let's look at so the only healing that I can really teach is law of attraction type healing. We know that energy follows all thoughts, and we know that we're advanced spiritual beings that have reached humanhood. So we're advanced to reach this level. Like, we don't start off as bipedal. You had to start off as a plant to learn how to breathe, and you had to be a fishy to waggle your butt to move. And we personally evolved. Charles Darwin was wrong. We advanced teleologically, like Aristotle is right, not Charles Darwin. So you personally were a plant, and to learn how to breathe. So if you've got problems like with lungs or something like that, or your eyes, then the plant thought form is something that you once were, and you need to sort of, by positive thinking and affirmations and stuff like that, we can draw on our past lives, and we can even make our past lives so we're stronger in the areas that we think that we're weak now. So maybe, like, if you needed to increase, say, something like your arm strength or something, then maybe you might want to consider that you had a life maybe as an orangutan or something with really big strong arms or something, and you can visualize that, and maybe retrocausally that will make that sort of incarnation as one of your past incarnations, and you can draw strength from it in the same way that we all do. It's hard to explain that you can draw from lives that are simultaneous to now, but you can bring health to you in this incarnation through our positive expectations of our past lives, or what we consider past lives, because the universe is timeless, and there is no past lives, there is no future lives. They're all concurrent to now and forever. So now affirming your health would be something like just saying I am healthy, I am pure, I am healthy, I am pure, I am healthy, I am pure. And a room of people that are all sick could all benefit from one another by joining into this group consciousness with the same thoughts. So if they all chanted together, I am healthy, I am pure, I am healthy, I am pure, I am healthy, I am pure, and they did that even as a focus group, the repetition and So if you're sick, ask your body, ask your higher selves, ask everybody what it's related to. Why am I sick? Say, why am I sick? And listen. You'll be told all sorts of things. You think you're making it all up or whatever. You just imagine the answer if you can't think of anything. And the imagined answers will often have, that's sort of a way to start practicing listening to your inner voices, is by imagining that you're hearing them. It's like using a Ouija board it's a way to learn how to be clairvoyant or whatever, or be a medium. You'd start off small and you'd sort of build up into it. So law of attraction type healing would just be like, I am healthy, I am pure, I am healthy, I am pure, I am healthy, I am pure, and positive visualizations, and you have to become the cure. You become, by becoming, it's you don't really become anything else because you're you, but it's the way it's done. You have to become what you want to know more about, or what you want to experience more. You have to become that experience, which is sort of hard to explain. So we've got the basic law of attraction type healing. We've got the emotion that you can discard, because you have to realize that you weren't the victim. You caused yourself to be a victim by manifesting the bully. The victim manifests the bully. The worrying grandmother is the cause of the grandchildren's demise, not the drunk driver. And we need to understand that the grandchildren are still safe, even if they're dead, because there's no tragedy. There's no tragedies. We think of tragedies as sad, and it is, to me, a tragedy is the fact that the mother or the people surrounding the person don't realize that the person is still safe. That, to me, is the only tragedy, is the ignorance that exists on our planet, because dying is not safe. Now, it is tragic that people have pain and suffering, and life isn't meant to be about pain and suffering, but maybe it's good for your karmic debt if you have such a thing, because any cause of pain that you cause to others, you need to experience it yourself, type thing. There's a balance that's inherent in the universe. Okay, so we've got the devices. We've got the onion machine, the Bionaire onion machine that I got from Walmart. The ancient Hindu, they would use something called a lingam. They would pour water on a lingam, and the water would be on a black, smooth stone, so it would evaporate, just like the water in your bathroom, creating steam in the air. This was also a way to create onions within their temples. They would pour water repeatedly over these smooth stones that were southerly facing the sun, and so the warm stones would evaporate the water, and then they would reuse, and they would just keep pouring this water over these smooth stones until the temples were filled with negative ions. And the 10-foot tall walls all around the temples or whatever, they weren't to keep burglars out, they were all to keep the onions in, because they would have inside, they would have gardens, they would have rainforest type gardens, and within these temples sometimes, and they would all be they would have water, and they would frogs and whatever. They would have a nice onion environment, and it would be a very peaceful place. And so you need to find those high onion environments yourself, and find peace in nature, and find places to heal, and ask for help, and ask your guides for help. Ask to be healed. Ask for healing. Ask for less pain. Ask. Just keep asking. Always ask, because you're not alone. So realize that all disease is caused by worry. All disease is caused by dis-ease. And all disease, even a broken arm, is psychosomatic. It's to teach you something. And you need to learn what it's trying to teach you. Because if you learn what is being taught to you, then the lesson's over and you can either recover or move on. And same thing. I don't view death as an end. I'm fine with death. I think that if people die, that's no biggie. We're here to learn and we're here to do something. We have purposes in our lives. We're here to either learn or to teach or something, and we need to find out what that is, and we need to learn it. This is a school. Everywhere is a school. You're always in school. This is the universe is mental, and your resonance is all you are. And so to improve that resonance, you have to keep growing into something that's compassionate. And emotions is basically because you've experienced you're hearing every word as a trigger word. Every word in this sentence, you're learning simultaneously to now, technically. And so like all our experiences with all our different words and everything like that, those are all triggers and stuff like that. So it's not just trigger words, it's everything triggers us. And that's what all emotions are based on, triggers, right? So we're meant to be forever. The dry fasting is the key to longevity also. I talk about, this is something that they don't talk about, but fasting is probably one of the best, healthiest things for us. The doctors are all like, oh, this is good food, this food will heal you, and this is good and that. But no, it's the absence of food that will heal us. I'm not immune to disease or injury, and if I get COVID or flu or something like that, I can feel it in the pit of my stomach, and I'll immediately start dry fasting. If I feel like I've been affected in a negative way, I will immediately switch into dry fasting until it's gone. So like I can cure any disease that I have I've been able to like get rid of it almost right away. Like within under a day, I got rid of like the COVID last time or whatever. It was the next day I was fine, type thing. But you had to sort of baby it that one day, and you had to like go into a dry fast. Dry fasting is the secret also to weight loss, etc. Weight loss is about water deficit, not calorie deficit. Water deficit, not calorie deficit. Water deficit. So when we dry fast, we lose a lot of weight. I manifested a way to lose weight because I was overweight there, and I tried dry fasting, and I found that I could lose 15 pounds in 5 days if I went 2 days dry fasting, 1 day water fasting, 2 more days dry fasting. I would lose 19 pounds, of which 4 pounds would return as like intestinal weight or whatever. So, also when you fast beyond 4 days, you get stem cells in all of your organs. So any water fasting you do beyond 4 days will give you stem cells, which has got to be good for your health, because stem cells is like the basic cells that have imprints. So you can expand your lifespan significantly by fasting regularly. The ancient Egyptians, they would fast for 30 days every month, and they would live hundreds of years, some according to them and whatnot, and according to some of our old writings and stuff like that. And what I teach is that our bodies are technically capable of being immortal. We don't need to have the pain and suffering that we have. And I also think that they did dry fasting every Sunday. I think Sunday as our day of rest was because they did dry fasting back in the day. I think that we know that Moses was likely King Tut's dad, Akhenaten. Sigmund Freud was one of the first to suggest that, because in ancient Egypt, Tutmosis would mean son of Tut. Moses just means son of. So like if you had Tut-Briar, it'd be son of Briar. Tutmosis would be son of Moses. So Moses in the Bible just means son of, and it is likely they did dry fasting. So I think that they would dry fast every Sunday, and I think that they would also water fast for 1 month out of every year. That's my belief in what the ancient Egyptians would do, roughly. And I think that corresponds to how we ourselves could live forever. I think that if we dry fasted every Sunday and water fasted 1 month every year, sure, we'd probably live hundreds and hundreds of years, or even beyond, because if we get to a point where we could regenerate, and we've lost a lot of the healing tech that there is. Everything imaginable in an imaginary universe is possible. There are beings that are in our version ascended. If we're living in a giant imagination, everything that we thought of as possible, aliens, etc., it all becomes probable. So I know that we'll be able to teleport objects from planet to planet someday, just because we can imagine that scenario as so, and we know that we live in a giant imagination. It has different rules than materialism. And you have to start thinking of yourself as an imaginary creature. And you have to start thinking about all your diseases as psychosomatic. And you have to realize that there is energies out there that can heal you, and that you can tune into if you tune into them. So try and channel these energies. Now, I don't want to speak about Franz Bardon book as a way. I'm not teaching you how to channel, but you could visualize healing energies coming from the universe and going to your friend that you're trying to heal. You could imagine that directly. I do not recommend that anybody inhales the elements and then projects them for healing, because there's not a lot of training. If you want to do that kind of training, then again, this book is online. It's I host it online. It's Franz Bardon Initiation in Hermetics. It's just old school, and it's but Franz Bardon never had a perfect life either. He was kidnapped by Hitler at one point because Hitler was trying to learn his magic. But you can't pick up a gun in this incarnation. If someone handed me a gun, I would refuse to use it, because I know that I can't see. I would rather my life be taken by an enemy than to kill that enemy, because that's not what we are or who we are. And there is no real enemy if you understand that we're all. And it's, I hope I'm getting to all these topics. Okay, so I've said that you have to ask for help, and you have to accept the help, because we're not alone. And I know it feels like, oh, someone's watching me, oh, how spooky is that? But we are all being watched, and we're all guided, and we're all part of an all, and we have other thought forms even within our own bodies that are part of us, and that they're along for the ride. An easy way to think about food and water is to think that even if you eat meat and stuff like that, if you imagine that all the food is coming onto our body as like a cruise ship. Imagine your body is a cruise ship, and the food and the water that we drink are the passengers of this cruise ship. So, do you want to give the passengers a human experience that is pleasant, or do you want to give them a human experience that is woeful or full of pain and worry and negativity? So, my cruise ship scenario of the body is a good one. Try and think of, because gratitude is the most obvious hack to love. So if you can find ways to give gratitude in your life, then that opens up to more love that you give overall. So if you thank anything, then you're giving it love. If you thank your toaster for giving good toast, then you're adding positivity, love, Gratitude and love. Love is just being having gratitude towards someone. Gratitude and love are almost synonymous terms. So learn to be gratitude for everything. Learn to be thankful for everything, even the bad stuff, because you need bad to have good. You can't have a place with just good. You need bad to have good. You can't have a universe with just ice cream and no broccoli. You can't. You need the broccoli to enjoy the ice cream, or vice versa. Alright, so most of my videos I do off the cuff. This video is actually important to me because it's on healing, and it's about pain and suffering for some of you. And I know that I wish I could just put my hand on you and heal you myself. But I'm not a trained healer. I'm not the best. I'm better than some. Probably worse than some. I don't know all the healers. I don't know all the energy beings on our planet. Because of what I teach, I've distanced myself from a few like me that teach this type of thing. But we need to understand as a whole that life is but a dream, shaboom, shaboom. And that if we think of life as mental, if we think of the life as a expanded dream, then if we think of illness as a psychosomatic, then it brings an ease to the healing. It brings an ease to the understanding. It brings an ease to the knowledge that dying is safe, and that it isn't a tragedy to die. It's not a tragedy. It's not. You're not going away. You're still there. You're gonna interact. You're gonna see people when they're sleeping or whatever. Like you can visit your dead relatives every night when you go to sleep, but you don't remember it because there's a veil in place. But the veil is one-sided, and every night you leave your body. So, I don't know. I suggest also reading books like Jane Roberts' Seth, Dolores Cannon, along with I've already mentioned Franz Bardon is one of my more favorite authors, and he was a guiding light when I was a teenager. But I have to admit that I think that Seth and Dolores Cannon have a lot to offer anyone into the esoteric fields. My understanding, and that has always been what I've taught, is always that this universe is essentially imaginary, and that the Wayne Hilborn theory of everything that I published elsewhere suggests that our memory is simultaneous events that we simply attune to. So that makes dying safe, because mankind is still of the view that license plate numbers is like they're encoded into some mysterious thing and then stored somewhere inside of our worm food brain. But our minds don't store anything. There's nothing, no memory that needs to be stored in a simultaneous block universe. Captain Kirk and Spock, they can just go and view all of your memories, and we know that entanglement is faster than the speed of light. So it should be obvious that we can just... Einstein taught us consciousness, as far as I'm concerned, because he taught us the block universe, and he taught us that everything is simultaneous. So why would your mind even need a memory, or why would we need to write down to remember anything if everything is just concurrent to forever? So everything is always stored. There's no need for any kind of memory. Everything is always. But in our linear forms, we need to try and remember things with notes and stuff like that, because we can't as easily tune into the simultaneous events as what we wish to sometimes. But that's only because there's a veil in place, and some people are better at it than others. And it depends how much of your personality is in this incarnation, and there's other stuff that I haven't taught that's would be relevant to some. But everything is possible. Anyways, this is an easy understanding of how to heal. Just do everything I've said in this video as far as the tools you need, the grounding mats, the bionair, the negative ions. Try and get yourself into heavy anion environments. Use positive affirmations. I am the cure. I am health. I am. Use your I am perfect health. I am pure. That's one from ancient Egypt. They used to say I am pure a lot. So I am healthy, I am pure, 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 I am healthy, I am pure. Fasting. Weight loss is about water deficit, not calorie deficit. Dry fast 2 days, then water fast for 1 day, and rinse and repeat. Just 2 days at a time, dry fasting, 1 day water fasting, and rinse and repeat. If you have a serious illness and you need to do a really long-term fast, then you could do like a long-term water fast, as opposed to, you could still mix in a few days dry fasting here and there, which is beneficial, but try and stick mostly to the water fast. If you need energy in that sort of a fast, then you could go mono fruit. Like you could have like only grapes for energy and still maintain like a 100-day fast. And I'm talking like fasting for cures is it's an effort in self-discipline, and you have to sort of talk to your higher selves, and you have to make arrangements, and you have to, but don't be afraid to die. It's just if you're not enjoying this life, or if you're in pain and suffering, or if you're old and you don't think that or if you're missing body parts or whatever, and you think that it's time to like move on, then maybe your body's just telling you it's time to move on. Don't be afraid of death. Death is not to be feared. It's, in some ways, it's to be looked forward to for many, especially if there is suffering and stuff like that involved. There's so much after. There's only afterlife. Our lives are so tiny compared to like what there is forever. So I don't know. I wish I could. I want to just keep talking about healing, and I wish I could heal everyone individually, but I'm just a teacher, and I hope that I've covered a lot on this, but I maybe I'll need to do another video on healing in the future, but this is it for now. I told in my first video on magic that one of the better experiments to do was the rice love hate experiment, because if you do the rice love hate experiment, you learn that your mind can heal rice from across the room. You take 2 bowls of steamed rice, or 2 baggies of steamed rice, or 2 Tupperware containers of steamed rice, and for daily you just love one. I love you, I'm so grateful, you're so pretty, and the other one you're like, oh, I hate you, you're so disgusting. And you have to sort of get into it, and you have to actually project negative emotions to it. Afterwards, ask the rice for forgiveness, and like for all, they didn't deserve all that hate and everything like that. But I mean, to learn this, you have to do it. And so you'll end up with one baggie that's like sick and like moldy and disgusting, and you'll have one bag of rice that looks edible. And you can do this yourself. You don't need me. So if you yourself made one bag of rice fresh and edible, and the other one all moldy and yucky, just by using your voice or your words, then that has applications to your own body or your own friends. If you can affect rice with your words, then what about your loved ones? What about your siblings? What about your parents? What about your kids? What about those in your life? Can you heal them with gratitude and love? And the rice love hate experiment says yes. And it's as simple as that. And there is for as deep as you want to go. That's as deep as the spiritual world goes. Because everything that we can imagine, and we can imagine a lot, becomes probable in an imaginary universe. And that means beings of light, that means Star Trek type stuff's going on, that means there's doctors out there with technology that makes us look like kindergarten. And our bodies are essentially imaginary. So And all our diseases are psychosomatic. So we need to heal our minds to heal our bodies. And that's essentially the main theme of this video, is that you heal your mind to heal your body. And you need to heal your mind by learning and practicing. And if you want to be if you have a calling to be a mind power type healer, then Franz Bardon is where to begin. But dying is safe. Right? I misspoke. But dying is safe. It's not the most comfortable experience, and every life we must have bad to have good. So you can't go to a heaven where there's only good. Any hereafter, and there is a hereafter, it will have good and bad, and it's much similar to what we experience here. There'll be more school, and there's a lot more involved, but it's an imaginary universe, and things get a little mixed up on that end, because people that we think of as children or relatives and stuff like that, they may have, your children in this life may have been your parents in a previous life. So when you go into that afterlife position, you still have the love, but it's you have to understand that imaginary universes don't work the same way as a materialist universe. Giant imagination means that we all live forever, and that's because of the simultaneous nature of our memory stored as simultaneous events. Mankind is still stuck on the idea that we store every license plate number in some sort of engram system, when actually we're just more simply looking at every license plate simultaneously to always. So everything in your life that you see is concurrent to forever, and you'll always be seeing that. You'll be watching this video concurrently to forever. So but hopefully that you'll pick up something from this, or if you learn from this, or if you can teach me, then I'll be learning too. But we're always learning, and lifetime to lifetime we grow. That's how it is. So must it be. So mote it be. Be blessed. And I wish I could... I hope that this 45 minutes has been enough to teach you some of the basics. And that life is blessed. And life is eternal, and you'll always exist as something. And that something is meant to improve. But we're going to be stuck in this loka until we graduate. And graduation from this earth air loka involves an amount of compassion that you won't be accepted into the higher realms unless you can attain that level of compassion. So maybe suffering is good for you if that teaches you compassion. If you're learning sympathy for others that are going through what you're going through or whatever, then you're learning that compassion. And so it's what you're learning that has value, not your disease or your illness or your injury. Those are just tools to help you learn. But once you learn, then there's no reason for the disease or the illness. And hopefully, with the cooperation from the higher beings and your higher self and stuff like that, they can put an end to some of the pain and some of the suffering, which I can address on an individual basis. But there is reasons for everything, and we have a foreverness, and we have guides, and we can ask for help, and we're all part of an all. Imaginary universes mean that we're part of an imaginary system that is just huge in enormity. And so everything that we can visualize has a validity to it. And before I go, I would just like to remind you that gratitude is a hack for love. And every meal, while you're welcoming the cruise ship, where you're welcoming your food to the cruise ship body of yours, to entertain the vegetables and everything that you're eating that are part of you now, to give them the best human experience. If you think of yourself as a cruise ship and you try and give them a pleasant experience, and if you stay in gratitude by thanking as many things as you can, if you can avoid worry alone, your life would become so much more blessed. If you could stop visualizing bad crap with emotion upon those you love, your grandchildren, stop visualizing your grandchildren lying in the ditch bleeding every time they're 10 minutes late for supper. If you can do things like that, just avoiding worry more, distract from worry. If I say, oh, don't worry, that's easy to say, but people go, oh, how do you not worry? You distract from worry. You turn on Netflix or any binge watch Game of Thrones or something. You can distract yourself from worry. You don't need to sit there and go over every worst case scenario. It might be something really tragic, but just distract yourself through chanting, or if you have to, or if it's easier, then just distract yourself with a movie or something on Netflix. Change the topic. Don't dwell on worry, because that's where the negative comes from. Visualizing bad crap with emotion is the key to all the woes on earth. All evil stems from worry. There's energy follows all thoughts. It's not the other way around. And retrocausality is big into it and stuff like that. And I'm going into some of the heavier concepts here. And this video is just on the simple level of healing. Like I said, the advanced level of healing is more the Franz Bardon type. Whether you're creating elementaries or using the element, you have to. There's a balance that needs to be with the 5 elements, and you need to spend time with each and all of them if you have a shortage, and you have to just ask and just use your guide, use your senses, use what do you feel like you're short? Do you need more earth, air, fire, or water in your life? What is the imbalance? What is the suffering? What is the worry? What is the pain? What is the anger? What is it that's causing our disharmony, our dis-ease? What is causing our dis-ease? I'm not immune to anger. I can get angry at things, but then I have to catch myself and go, oh, why am I thinking that way? Why did I just get that anger? And you have to analyze these things, and you have to let them go, and you have to realize that that's not the way to be. So mote it be. Be blessed. I'm Wayne Hilborn. I teach consciousness and reality on YouTube.
And that's a wrap, folks. I hope I broadened your horizons today. As a modern Canadian magician, I've got a knack for tuning into the universe and understanding the intricacies of reality. From healing to life coaching and fitness instruction, I'm your go-to guy for a holistic approach to well-being. If today's topic struck a chord with you, send some positive vibes out in the universe. And while I don't ask for personal donations, your generosity could help elevate the quality of my future content and publications. Whether through Patreon, direct support, or local collaborations, your contributions are greatly appreciated. Remember, folks, it's all about that water deficit. Dry fasting holds the key to shedding those pesky pounds, and I'm here to debunk the myth that exercise is the be-all and end-all for our weight loss. Forget about calorie counting. It's all about tapping into that 7% water in our fat cells and saying goodbye to them forever. And let's not forget the other nugget of wisdom I bring to the table. The nature of memory is a series of simultaneous events. No brain required to store those precious moments, folks. You'll be conscious forever. If you're hungry for more of what I have to offer, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for future updates. Wishing blessings upon you all, and remember, in a universe governed by the mind, worry is the only true evil. Stay positive, stay blessed, and keep spreading the love.